Let's build. My name is Yves Darbouze, and this is the Pan-African product. The Pan-African product is a piece of content that makes this the assumptions, well, not the assumptions, the solutions that are delivered in this book leave operationalizing a Pan-African state. This is a book I wrote for the African people everywhere, not just in the diaspora, not just on the continent, everywhere. You know, we're hoping some of them come back from leaving and going to. Don't get me on my UFO mode. But today I want to talk to you about Ubuntu economics. Ubuntu economics are a philosophy, a form of socialism that also recognizes the external relationships that you're going to have is going to look a lot like capitalism. In order to secure the value of what every African owns, you have to have some kind of outside relationship that with clarity sees the opportunity in your currency, in your markets, in any of those type of relationships. But Ubuntu economics is a response to what we have in America, which is unstoppable capitalism. I couldn't think of a right. It's a religiostic relationship with capital. Capitalism, every time it fails, we could never know that it works because of the religion component of it. The idea that it can't be wrong. The free markets are infallible. They don't make mistakes, right? And unstoppable capitalism cannot be the method in which Africans operate. We have to have another type of principle. Their principles force them to want their economics to look like this, where it keeps going up and up. When you're looking at charts, it just goes up. But the truth is, in capitalism, it spikes, it falls, but when it falls, they give it corporate socialism, right? But they hide it. They don't let you see it, right? But how many bailouts have there been? How many times has your government had to mail you a little check? But what we could have learned from the PPP checks, as an example, from in our recent history, is that when people have money, they pay their bills, they invest, they go on vacation, they read, they start to care about things. I remember everyone wanted to be in crypto, and everyone was on, different kinds of, whether it be spaces on Twitter or any type of meetups. Like the Discords were on fire, and it was all because of this free market religion, that the God of the free market will always make it come back to a form of justice that only capitalism can give you. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. So let's get rid of that. Ubuntu economics looks at all of the mistakes that Africans have made with their economics. It's always trying to mimic the American or the Western form of economics, and their economics is based off greed. Greed will always end in hate. Hate will always end in war, and war would always end with death. The coveting, that's why that's a sin in the Bible, is because when you look and see what someone else has and you want it, eventually you're going to try to take it. That's why we need a Pan-African state. But let's just think about how our economics should work and versus how other people's economics works. We can't have it where it needs to always be going up and up and up and up and up. Then if by doing that, then it's more about the game of capital versus the game of existence, the game of living, the game of not being a virus. Humans have to make a decision. Are we virus? Eating off of things, consuming it, becoming fat, not planting, not taking care or stewardship of the planet and of each other. If everything is greed based, everything is, don't touch my stuff, I'm closing my gate and get off my property. It's not a healthy way for a nation to be built. It'll eat itself. It always ends in fascism. So our capital at the top from when it starts doesn't aim to go up right away. It aims to do these things. Build infrastructure. Right? Schools. Right? These things cost. They're not necessarily making money, so we're going down, right? Right? UBI, which we'll talk about, which is Ubuntu basic income. Right? By taking care of these things, healthcare. Right? The economics go downward. Right? But the gravity, have you ever gone down a hill? The moment you start reaching the bottom is when you've built the most speed. When you've taken care of your people by giving people infrastructure, education, UBI. Putting $500 is what I'm proposing, $500 a month in every African's pocket, whether they're rich or poor. We all get it. You can donate it. You can give it back. You can tell it to be invested in something else because you already got it. It could pay a little bit of your taxes as you go if you want. We don't care. But everybody gets Ubuntu. Everybody gets it because Africa is for the Africans. In 50 years, it could be calculated to be more, but for now, it will be guaranteed that all of us should get this. All of us should have free education. All of us should drive on roads that make sense, should have electricity that makes sense. Power should be predictable. Right? Healthcare, hospitals. Right? All of that should be taken in cost, and it's downward, right? But then, because of the Pan-African Central Bank paying for all of these things, encouraging all of these things, making better, by performing these things, making better roads, better mines, better infrastructure, better security, the whole society starts to rise up. Right? And it all starts to profit. Businesses are being funded, right? This is all in the instruction and guidance of the Pan-African Central Bank. The investment starts to come back, right? And our economic starts to rise. But as per every year, we have to make these same investments, which drives us down. And where, again, through the stewardship of the Pan-African Central Bank that ensures these things function or are invested in properly, right? Our economics rises again. And this becomes a sustainable and predictable way to have an economy that invests in its people, right? It invests, the Pan-African Central Bank, in the form of venture capital, right? So let's say PACB, VC. It invests in companies that are building roads. It invests in companies that are dealing with energy and power. It invests in hospitals. Bring us your hospital plans. Where do you plan to build it? Where do you want to put it? You bring that to the Pan-African Central Bank. It invests in new mines. Right? It invests in media, new media that no longer is beholden to just the media companies or the governments that there is. Doing this, right, equals lifting 400 million out of poverty. Right? That's what this equals. If by doing Ubuntu economics, we now have a market of 1.4 billion consumers. For anyone seeking to have a financial future, you could build anything. People now have money, right? The PACB, again, will have cost controls because obviously something like that would be inflationary, right? You put money out there in a society, of course, there would be companies that would take advantage. That's where we're the most socialist, is basically setting prices on products. But just by putting that money out there, you could find yourself back in the same problem if you don't control that cost control, right? If you don't have the money being invested in the means of production. Right? If PACB invest in a bunch of record companies, which they could invest into a record company, but let's say that's all they did, then all of the complicated challenges of Africa fail, which is why we need to form an action list of what needs to be invested in. And it all comes back. right? This is a completely different way of looking at things versus the American way where everything has to go up and up and up and up and up and up. That's not reality. That's nothing goes up and up and up. And when it goes down, you shouldn't freak out. The Pan-African state could become the wealthiest nation in the world. Not nation, I have to say it right. It can be the wealthiest country in the world. It could protect itself, right? That's the other thing the Pan-African state has to fund. The military. Why? Because if you don't have the military and you can't protect the stuff, right? It all falls down. But the moment another country is like, they've got an army of 20 million people. They've got another billion of their citizens. Yeah, now, let me just buy the resources. Let me just buy the coltan. Let me just buy the diamonds. Let me just buy the cobalt, the bauxite. All my favorite ones. I love dropping those, right? But this is the economics of a Pan-African state. It's socialist, but mixed. An economy that's mixed and practices a different form of socialism. Takes a lot of inspiration from China. While it can't be what's right for the Chinese is not right for us. But their economics is what has been working. So a lot of what I've taken here is stolen from them. You know, great artists, good artists create, great artists steal. But anyway, we'll talk more to be broken down. I want to talk more about the Pan-African Central Bank in specific and how it will function. I'll do that in the next video. And of course, there's the other videos about the Pan-African state and all of the functionaries within that as well. And just bringing everyone to kind of understand what this product is. This, again, these are features of a system, right? Just like a computer has its CPU, it has its RAM, it has its motherboard, it has its, video card. All of those things make up that one computer. And that's what we're doing here. We're looking at all of the different features of this product that we call the Pan-African state. We'll be talking more. Peace.